Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the football podcast. I believe it's just Paul and Stu this time, but I'm sure that it's going to be the same great football content. Paul and Stu know what they're doing at this point. I'm sure they've got it covered. It's fine. They'll be going through all the games from last week, all the games to come this week, all the news, everything you could possibly want in a football podcast, all right here. Before we get started, please do consider like, share, subscribe, and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. Share the podcast around. That's the one that's the bestest. That's good grammar, right? Bestest? Sure. Right. Enough from me. Let's hear from these guys. Here we go. This is CookieCast, football podcast.
Welcome on in, ladies and gentlemen. And for those of you joining us via the audio version of the podcast, you won't be able to see any faces because you're never able to see faces on audio files because that's the way that sound works. But for those of you joining us on YouTube, you'll be able to see two smiling, happy faces looking back at you. And it's not because Newcastle are currently getting beaten 3-0. 5-0 on aggregate in the semi-final of the Carabao Cup. It's just because football is a wonderful thing and can do wonderful things to people who believe. But yes, it's myself. I'm Mr. Stuart Woodmansey. Sadly, once again, Mr. Moore not able to join us this week, but we'll try and do our best to bring the Nottingham Forest elements to the podcast. But how are you this week, sir? I understand you might be a little tired after not dating the podcast at all, but potentially being out last night.
Yeah, a little bit of a late night of the football, and even though it was midweek, stupidly decided to take the small children who have been less than exemplary today, shall we say, is the...
Oh, really? We may get onto that later on. So, we'll dive straight in with Week 23's games that have been and gone. And we started last week with a Nottingham Forest European fixture. It was their last of the group stage against Ferencváros of Hungary. They knew going into this that to stand any chance of being in the top 8, yes, any chance of being in the top 8 and avoiding a playoff, they would need to win and hope that results went in their favour. Sadly, they were only able to accomplish one of those things. They did get the win, which was impressive because Ferencváros hadn't lost in the competition going into this point. And Forest did quite the number on them. They beat them 4-0. Unfortunately, I didn't see any of the game, so I can't really comment on any of the goals, sadly. But I can say that the first was an own goal by, definitely going to butcher this one, Ertvers, O-T-V-O-S, but the O's have got the umlaut over them, so I can only presume they're pronounced like an or something like that. That was on 17 minutes. Igor Jesus made it 2 on the 21st minute, 3 on the 55th minute, once again by Igor Jesus. And to wrap up the game, James McAtee scored a penalty in the 90th minute to make it 4-0. I believe I even texted the group at the time to say, good, let's hope it's a goal that gives him a bit of confidence and helps him to kick on and get his Nottingham Forest career kick-started as following his move from Manchester City earlier in the summer. It's not really happened for him so far. So, 4-0 win. Unfortunately, like I say, Forest needed other results to go their way to be able to avoid needing to go through the playoffs to get into the following rounds of the Europa League. So, Forest ended up finishing 13th on 14 points, 4 wins, 2 draws, 2 losses. They finished actually a place and a point behind the team they beat on the last day of the league window. So it was. So they finish in 13th, and they will have a playoff against Fenerbahce.
Ooh.
Not the easiest of ties. So we will wait and see what happens when it comes to the playoff leg. It is a two-legged affair. It's not just a one and done. So they will have a home and an away leg to get the job done. Stu had gone for a 1-0 win with a Morgan Gibbs-White goal. So no bonus points for the goal scorer, but does get the 1-0 win point for the result. I went for a 2-1 win with Callum Hudson-Odoi and Igor Jesus to score. I gave Ferencváros a goal with Yusuf to score. He did not, but I did get 2 points. Our second game of the week took us to Saturday lunchtime. Well, Saturday 3 p.m, should I say, sorry, where Blackburn Rovers were taking on Hull City. And obviously we discussed last week that you wouldn't be going to this because, any sort of precipitation in the air in the surrounding Lancashire area would deem this game completely unplayable. So probably best to avoid the Lancashire area altogether. Did you heed that advice?
I did indeed, although there was a slight scare just before the game in the respect of that one of the assistant managers opened a bottle of water on the sideline and it was touch and go for a minute. But I am pleased to report that the game did go ahead.
In my head, all I can just see is like the ref throwing the ball up and it just landed in a puddle or something like that. And it just goes no.
But no, the game did go ahead, and probably for the most part, annoyingly so for all of the people who travelled. It heavily threatened to be a second bore draw within a month between the two sides. And the crowd had to wait for 15 minutes just to get a bit of action going. The first chance fell to Regan Slater when he stole possession in the Blackburn penalty area, attempted a low drive, but it was well saved by the goalkeeper down to his right and then cleared. More pressure from Hull was kind of dealt with, really. It was all a bit... A lot of pressure in and around the kind of middle of the pitch, not really a lot going forwards. But Rovers dealt with it pretty well. And then they finally created a chance themselves. But again, the crowd had to wait till the 33rd minute for this one. Now, I'm going to butcher this one. Ryan Alabiosu?
Whoa! Too many letters for my blood there, son.
He cut in field and unleashed a curling shot, but it was well saved by Panda. Hull almost did score actually on the counter, but Miller's shot was deflected safe. And then just before half-time, Blackburn Rovers were lucky to remain at 11 men after Todd Cantwell reacted like a little bitch to a heavy Ollie McBurney challenge and kind of had a little bit of a lash out, and the referee booked him for it. I was listening to this on the radio at this point, and they managed to get almost like a local radio presenters conference going at this point, and even the Blackburn commentary team saying, not really sure how he's still on the pitch at this point. Anyway, thankfully, he didn't come back to haunt us. But 0-0 at half-time. Blackburn definitely had more of the chances to open the scoring in the second half, but again, had to wait another 15 minutes. So around the hour mark, Pando been drawn into action, saving at close range from Ohashi, before Jorgensen then headed over from 5 yards just a minute later. But Hull then decided that they should probably, if they're going to travel all that way, and the pitch was just about playable, should probably start to try and have a go. Hirakawa linked up well with Dowell in the 68th minute, with the latter squandering a chance over the bar. Hull kept on the pressure and finally got an opening goal on 81 minutes. Hadzi Amatovic, lovely pass to Kyle Joseph, who played a first-time through ball to Kumas, new loan signing, split the defence, and he scored within 4 minutes of his Hull debut. Kyle Joseph should have made it 2-0 on 88 minutes, but unfortunately, it was Carl Joseph from last season that turned up, not Carl Joseph from this season that turned up. The keeper well saved it from pretty close range. He'd had another one like that in the home game before that as well. So that was. I hope it's not knocked his confidence too much. But the final score 0-1 Hull up to third place, and then that was 5 games unbeaten and 4 wins on the spin. First time
very,
since
very nice.
2021, apparently, 4 games in a row.
Is that the promotion season?
Yeah, when they were in League One.
There you go. Very nice. Good omen, some would say. Sadly for Mr. Woodmansey, no points from on this one. He's gone for a 1-1 draw with Ohashi and Gelhardt for the goals. I, on the other hand, went for a 2-1 Hull win with Ohashi, Hirakawa, and Gelhardt. So no points for goal scorers, but I did get a bonus point. I'd say a bonus, but I didn't get a point for the correct result. So it means I move on to 3 points from 2 games. Stu still remaining on 1. Third game, I do apologise. So my lot Middlesbrough taking on Norwich in what was classed as the standout fixture of the day in the Championship, as this was the 2 form sides in the division going up against each other. Middlesbrough on the back of 4 wins on the spin in the league, and Norwich on a bit of a mini run themselves, having beaten Coventry at home earlier in the week. So they were looking for a back-to-back top 2 scalp. And this one seemed to start in the usual way. Chances for both sides. It seemed like it was Borough that came out and set the tempo early doors. Callum Britton back in the side after his injury layoff, down the right hand side, went for sort of a cross come shot type effort from across the box. Just that the keeper had to parry it over his own bar. Down the other end, as was probably to be expected, it was Makama that was the busiest player in the Norwich front line, and he was forced a couple of smart saves out of Sol Bryn. But the goal scoring was opened in the 17th minute, and there's a bit of smart pressing from the Borough team on the edge of the Norwich area. Aidan Morris was the guy who set the press, went and closed down the defender who made the mistake and just, well, let's not try and sugarcoat, shot himself basically, and just booted the ball just anywhere he could get it. So the ball squirmed away to the left-hand side, or the right-hand side as Norwich were defending. As he does all the time, Tommy Conway was the first to the ball, closed it down. He managed to get the ball into the feet of Riley McGree, who in turn found Hayden Hackney with the first-time ball right on the edge of the box. Hackney took 1 touch to get out of his feet and unleashed an absolute thunderbolt into the top corner of the Norwich net. One of those ones that, looking at it first time, it was like, oh, that's a nice finish. But when you watch it back from the different angles, he's just set it out perfectly. He's like got it out of his feet, set himself nicely, and just absolutely exocet missiled it into the top corner. No keeper in the world was going to save that. So an absolute stonker to open the goal scoring on 17 minutes. Could have been 2 a little bit later on. It was Morris who found himself about 20 yards out. Had a shot which stung the palms of the keeper. I think he was able to tip it wide. I'm convinced he's scoring soon rather than later. I'm telling you, it's coming. He always finds himself sort of in that, like, just outside the box area. And I think if he keeps plugging away, he will eventually get his first goal for the team. So it was 1-0 at half time. Into the second half, the first effort of note was a direct free kick just from the edge of the box. Target really should have done better. He kind of just placed it straight into the keeper's hands. Chance free the team at the opposite end of the pitch. Makama had another chance to score, easily saved by Sol Bryn. Conway again one of those ones where he was on the right, he was on the left hand side, just worked his way into the box, never really got himself set. Was just struggling to get the ball out of his feet, and his effort was tame. Just stopped by the keeper. It didn't seem like there was an awful lot of chances in the second half until Makama got put clean through at one point. It looked like he just had the keeper to beat. But Bryn came out to try and close him down. Makama then obviously scooped the ball over Bryn to try and then roll it into the empty net. But in doing so, it gave Dale Fry the chance he needed to get back in to be able to just knock him and just nudge him off the ball and clear away the danger. And that seemed like it was Norwich's best chance of getting back into the game. And so it seemed, as Borough held on for the 1-0 win, that took them joint top of the division, following Coventry's loss away to Queen's Park Rangers. That 10-point gap, that unassailable lead that Coventry had at the end of last year, has been whittled away to no more than goal difference now, and Borough find themselves equal on points at the top of the division with 58 apiece, which is all to play for. And obviously the fact that Hull find themselves only 4 points back or 5 points back at the time of this game, it's not a done and dusted thing. Everyone's saying that it's a 3-horse race at the moment between Borough, Coventry, and Ipswich. Well, Hull have got more points than Ipswich at the minute, so I think you should be counting Hull in that mix, definitely. Podcast predictions wise, Mr. Woodmansey went for a 2-2 draw. Went for Makama and Schwartau to score for Norwich, Castledine and Hackney to score for the Borough. So it does get us a bonus point for the Hackney goal. I went for a 2-1 Borough win, but didn't pick Hackney as my goal scorer. So I got a point for the result. Stu got a point for the goal scorer. Right, so we move on to the fourth game of the weekend, which was played on Sunday, live on the Sky Sports Telly Box at 2 p.m. And so Nottingham Forest take on Crystal Palace. Now, unfortunately, I didn't see this game in full, but did catch the majority of the important elements. Did you see much of the game, if any?
No, I was the same as you. I saw the highlights in the sense of what happened fairly early, and then the insanity which happened later on. So,
yes. Well, Forest took the lead on this one. 5 minutes in, was it a corner?
And then it was sort of worked across the 6-yard box, wasn't it? In the end, was it Gibbs White that was on the sort of back post?
Yeah. It almost looked as if it was like a bit of a smart sort of turn and finish from him. It sort of almost looked as if it was like sort of swallowed in the crowd a little bit, but he looked like he took it well, to be fair to him. Like I say, a turn and finish, low to the keeper's left and whatnot. But yes, that made it 1-0 to Nottingham Forest, and it was all going swimmingly up until the second minute of injury time at the end of the first half, where Palace, again, I don't know if that was from a corner, but they caused a bit of havoc in the box and the ball dropped. I don't actually know who it was that had the initial shot. I would imagine it was potentially Sarr if he was the one who ended up taking the penalty that came about from the incident. But Palace had a strike that was very much on target. It was angling straight into the top corner, but Nico Williams was round on the cover, found himself on the line, and I don't know if like Matt just suggested that instinct kicked in, and he went for I'll go to head the ball, but wouldn't it be better if my head was actually my hand?
It's that age-old thing of it was like go gadget arms as he hit the line, and he might have got away with that in the Championship if the ref was at a different angle. But I think there's sort of 25 cameras that were possibly in the football stadium, plus any kind of goal line stuff and the VAR. You're not going to get away with it.
No, he was never going to get away with it. It was a silly obviously it's not a malicious thing, but it's just a rush of blood to the head. And like, you can kind of guess it because in the moment you instinctively do just sort of like throw your hand out and stuff like that. But obviously in the professional game, it's a straight red card. So massively put Forest behind the eight ball in terms of being able to control the game and go on and win. Palace, of course, stuck away the resultant penalty to make it 1-1. Sarr with the goal on 2 minutes into injury time. So, and then I didn't see any of the second half. So I don't know if Forest if there was any chances where Forest went close or Palace drew saves from the keeper. Was it at this point that Sells went off injured at half time as well? So Forest were down to 10 men and had lost their keeper to an injury that I don't know if it said whether they think he'll miss a lot of time or not or what. So we'll have to look into that. They have been proactive and they have actually signed a replacement keeper on loan. Because at the moment Matt Sells was doing obviously Sells is the first choice keeper, but he was playing kind of, I can't even think of the word, without any pressure on him. As the substitute keeper was ruled out for the rest of the season earlier in the week with an injury suffered in the last game, or possibly on the training pitch. So, yes, they had to finish the game with Angus Gunn, the third choice keeper, keeping net for them. So we'll see how long or how bad Sells' injury is, how long it keeps him out of the team. But hopefully, fingers crossed, it won't keep him out for too long. Predictions wise, Mr. Woodmansey gone for a 1-0 win for Forest with Dominguez to score. So sadly, no points there. I went for a 2-0 Forest win. I went for Hutchinson and Gibbs White. So I bagged myself a bonus point for the Gibbs White goal at least, which means that after 4 games, I found myself on 5 points, Stu on 2. And our final game of the week was the rearranged fixture between Hull and Watford. I hope you wrapped up warm for this one because could only presume it was a little chilly.
Do you know what? It was quite cold, and I think my favourite thing that I saw ahead of the game was that somebody had photoshopped a official Hull City tweet and put it out as if it was their own and said, make sure you get yourselves in the ground more than 15 minutes ahead of time. We've got a free gift for everyone in attendance. And there was a photograph of a bottle of de-icer just stood at the edge of the pitch. Top work by whoever did that. I hope it didn't cause too much trouble, but it was funny. You'll be pleased to know that the 14 Watford fans who came up and complained the first time around, about half of them had made it back for the game. It was very, very quiet in the away end, but to be fair, kind of expected after the shenanigans last time. I don't know if the club ended up doing anything for him or would give him any kind of incentive or not sure. But yeah, it was due, like Paul said, it was due to be played about a month ago. And bear in mind, it was called off just 18 minutes before kickoff. So a little bit of a pain, particularly for those that are travelling up. But yeah, we definitely went into this rearranged fixture in better form than we were going into the initial date, but not necessarily in terms of results, but more in terms of having like bodies on the pitch sort of thing. But also as well, just a couple of days before the fixture, Watford's then manager decided that, in his words, didn't have the fight for a promotion push within him, so he resigned. Now, bear in mind, on the merry-go-round at his Watford's managerial position, that was his third go, I think. It was definitely
definitely his second. I don't know, maybe it might have been his third, but yeah, definitely second at least.
So Watford kind of, I guess, came into the fixture with a bit of new manager bounce as they were looked after by caretaker boss Charlie Daniels. Watford pushing for the playoffs. Can see maybe why during the game they passed the ball around very well. but can also see why they're not in the playoffs, as I think that it can only be described as couldn't shoot for shit would be, I think, the technical
I
term.
think there's talk that they've probably got potentially the best player in the league in Loser. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people that seem to think he's destined for the top. So
He was, and do you know what? He had a great game last night, but he's another one of these that would be a much, much better footballer if he spent as much effort actually with the ball as he does in the referee's ear. Irritates the life out of me, that. And yeah, the reason we've not got to talk about any of the football yet is because it was 0-0. Nothing happened. It was a game of very few chances. Watford dominated the possession with the passing. But aside from one sort of real clear-cut chance in the first half, was it first? No, early in the second half, there was nothing really that I fully expected the net to bulge. The ball came in from the right-hand side. It was pretty similar to the Vipotnik missed chances from the game the other week, in the sense of he had all of the goal to aim at and instead went for the stands, which worked for me, to be honest. We had some of the new signings made starts. So he rested Liam Miller from the starting position. Lundstrom was on the bench as well. So we got full debuts for Hirakawa and Dowell, both of which were kind of withdrawn midway through the second half when the manager was clearly trying to make some sort of changes, have an impact on the game, but nothing, like literally nothing else really to report. One thing I would say is that the referee, thanks to Loser, as Paul named him, had a bit of a ropey second half. Every single time Watford fell over, the wind blew, whatever, it was a free kick. Ollie McBurney was wrestled to the ground 3 times last night, and I appreciate that guy has a reputation which clearly precedes him. But if it's a foul, it's a foul. The referee waved it away every time. And it happened more often than not whenever it was a Hull player on the receiving end, which was a little disappointing. He also got very happy with his yellow cards. Apparently, Louis Coyle can be given a yellow card for clipping somebody's heels, and rightly so. Don't have a problem with that. But apparently, a Watford player can fling his arm out to catch McBurney in the face, and that wasn't even a foul, apparently. And McBurney wasn't like down on the floor rolling around holding his face or anything stupid like that. He carried on with it, but he fully like side-armed him in the face. It was absolutely pathetic. But yeah, nothing exciting. It was called. As much happened really as the first date for this fixture in the grand scheme of things, but both teams came away with a point, and Sky had it down as Hull missing an opportunity to close the gap on the top 2. I'd like to take this opportunity to just remind Sky that we've not been able to spend any money on transfer fees all season. We're favourites for relegation, and now have a little look.
Indeed. Yes. The less said about that, the better. So, Stuart gone for a 1-0 Watford win with Keremgard as the goal scorer. No points. I went for a Crooks and Ince goal apiece in a 1-1 draw. So no points for me, no points for goal scorers there, but I do get a point for the fact that the game finished as a draw. So all that means is that Stu, from the 5 games, bagged himself 2 points. I managed to get points in every single game we played this week. So I'm happy with that. So I take a total of 6 points from the 5 games. Very happy indeed. I was never getting any points for the Crooks goal, by the way, because he got ruled out for a month, I believe, with an injury. So,
which I'd completely missed as well until you told me earlier today.
Yeah. Well, Just doing you a service, my friend. Just doing you a service. So, that is week 23, done and dusted. We will take a step away just for a brief moment to maybe get another drink, do any sort of ablutions we need to get done, and we'll come straight back at you with week 24's games, and we'll also round up the closure of the transfer window for all three clubs. So don't go anywhere. We will be right back at you. The break has ended, and we will dive straight back in. So we've done the games. But as we said in the first half of the podcast, the transfer window has slammed shut for 2026. So as it stands now, teams are set for the rest of the season. So I'll just go through the businesses each team has done. So we'll start with Nottingham Forest. They had quite a quiet deadline day. They only actually brought in, I suppose technically it was two. Although to be fair, the first one was potentially completed a couple of days prior, but their entire dealings with three through the door. They signed a striker, Lorenzo Luca, on loan from Napoli. We covered him in the podcast last week, I believe, but this is just going through the whole of the ins and outs for the window. So it's initially on loan from Napoli until the end of the season. Apparently, there is a reported £35 million option to buy included in the deal. So we'll see how it goes. If it's a positive, you'd imagine they'll probably look to make it permanent. We briefly discussed the fact that they'd signed a goalkeeper in line with Matt Sells suffering that injury in the last game against Palace. It's Stefan Ortega from Manchester City. I think there was reports that he was released from City and then picked up by Forest as like a sort of a free transfer thing, but apparently they did pay a small fee. And apparently the fee will be up to 500,000 if certain clauses are triggered. It doesn't go into which clauses are there, but obviously I imagine it'll be games played, whether or not they stay up in the division, whether they qualify for Europe, etc., etc. But a good pickup for me. I always thought it was a decent backup at City. Don't really know why he wasn't being backed as the backup keeper to Edison for longer. And then obviously City went crazy and signed two new keepers this summer. So he went from being second choice to somehow being fourth choice, which has always seemed odd to me because whenever he came in and played for City, he looked good. A good backup keeper could probably test Sells to be the number one as well. So I would expect him to play, maybe not the next game, whilst he's a bit lacking in match fitness. But again, as a keeper, you don't really need to be that match fit, to be honest with you. But I wouldn't be surprised if he plays against Leeds this coming weekend. But we'll have to see. And the last one they brought in was a left back, Luca Netz, from Borussia Mönchengladbach for around £2 million. Now, I can only say, based on the information I was given by Mr. Moore, but apparently, if you want to know what Luca Netz looks like, look at the screen.
Not me.
Don't know much about him. Left back, like I said, bought from Borussia Mönchengladbach. I can only presume they've got question marks over Einer's long-term fitness. Potentially, I don't know. Nico Williams obviously was sent off, so he's going to have a ban. Squad depth, I guess, is the name of the game. The outs, again, it was just three. Callum Owendo went on loan to Eintracht Frankfurt, which we'd covered. They do have an option to purchase him as well come the end of the loan, so that will be interesting to see if that goes through. And the other two are loans that were in the club that have been terminated and they've moved on to other places. So Douglas Luiz's loan from Juventus was terminated. He has since rejoined Aston Villa on a loan until the end of the season. And Alexander Zinchenko was loaned back to Arsenal. Loaned back. His loan from Arsenal was terminated, and he has since gone on to join. I want to say Ajax. It's someone in Holland, I think. It'll probably turn out to be like Olympiacos or something like that. But,
that famous
either
Dutch
way,
game.
exactly, of course. Either way, he's now left Forest and doesn't play for them anymore. So was always on the cards. I think. Don't think he wasn't really getting a game. I think he'd been removed from the 25-man squad as well. So it wasn't looking positive from a Zinchenko perspective. Let's put it that way. Do you want to go through the Hull ins and outs, because they were kind of busy on. Oh, the one thing that was sorry about Nottingham Forest is they tested the waters with a cheeky. How much do you want for Hayden Hackney bid? Apparently, on transfer deadline day, and were greeted with a. I can only presume the answer was go fuck yourselves. So, yeah. Yes, over to you, Hull.
Okay, yeah. We again, considering that we're still smack bang in the middle of the EFL on Bongo, we're struggling along with making some choice signings for no money. I was going to say not a lot of money, but it's just actually no money. So yeah, we've got James De Bayo. He came from Leeds on a free. I think we talked about him a couple of weeks ago. We signed Kieran Dowell, midfielder, again for this one from Rangers on a free. Both had their contracts terminated by mutual consent, obviously freeing it up. We signed Paddy McNair, officially from San Diego FC, on a free, but we all know really, we're going to say former Middlesbrough. He's not played yet. I assume that's probably a fitness thing. I think there was talk of, well, because of his arrival, that John Egan was gaining some interest from Ipswich. And that looked to be possibly the subject of a deadline day bid, but it never came to fruition. So we've actually got a bit of cover, particularly once Semi Ajayi is back fit after his exploits at the African Cup of Nations. Managed to get all the way through to the third place game before absolutely knackering his leg. But once he's back fit, we should actually have a decent rotation of centre halves, to be honest. Obviously, we signed Yu Hirakawa, who we've talked about, who made that instant impact on his debut at Preston. He signed on loan from Bristol. We've also signed the newest recruits, if you like, are Toby Collier, Manchester United youngster, been sent out on loan to try and get some experience. However, he does come to us still recovering from a calf injury, so I suspect it'll be a couple of weeks before we get to see anything from him as he gains a bit of match fitness. And Lewis Kumas. Again, the gentleman who also made an impact on his debut, scoring 4 minutes after being brought on in his first game. So players out. Harry Vaughan has gone back out on loan to Bohemians. I assume the football team, not just a group of. Tyrell Sellers-Fleming has taken his affinity with Grimsby and increased that loan spell, so he's gone back out there for a little bit. A couple of youth team players, which obviously won't bother going on with that. But Casey, probably the biggest out, I think, for me, is Casey Palmer. We spoke about him. He's gone on loan to Luton. And Enes Destan, fairly recent signing, but he wasn't getting a look in on a starting basis regularly. And I think, to be honest, they needed to kind of move some people around so that they could have some more come in. And because he wasn't a regular starter, I feel like he's taken one for the team a little bit there. And he's gone on loan for the rest of the season to Westerlo. And the two final ones, Joel Ndala was on loan with us from Manchester City, been recalled by his parent club. No official reason, but I would presume the lack of starts might be an issue. Although he did play a fair bit, he just wasn't getting started regularly. And news actually yesterday, not to date the podcast too much, but Brandon Williams, who Hull gave a second chance to try and revive his football career after he did a very silly thing with a vehicle, had his contract terminated by mutual consent. Don't think that it's really gone the way that he wanted it to, considering the big redemption speech that he gave upon signing, and then subsequently managed to feature once for the Tigers in a 3-0 home defeat to Blackburn.
Not ideal. The reason why I was flicking through my book was the Destan selection is obviously he's obviously had to leave because both me and Matt picked him as Hull's top goal scorer for the season. So lovely jubbly. So Borough, just to go through them, a rather quiet transfer window in the grand scheme of things. Obviously, the main thing was the fact that Hayden Hackney remained at the club.
That was the busy part, was fighting off Forest.
Exactly. It was telling Forest to go away, shoo, just be off with you naughty minxes. Just leave him alone. Don't you be turning his head now. Don't you be promising him Premier League football, you filthy bastards. You might get that next season anyway. So, 4 players through the door. We've already covered 2 of them. Leo Castledine and Finn Munro were signed from Chelsea and Villa, respectively, both under 21 or under 23, so won't need to be registered for the 25-man squad, which is good, but both do go straight into the first team picture. Castledines already played a couple of games and looked quite handy. Finn Munro's more of a backup to Matt Targett, but obviously there were question marks over whether Matt Targett's loan was going to be terminated or Newcastle, well, not terminated from a Borough perspective, but Newcastle potentially looking to recall him to ease their injury woes. But they seem to have got through the majority of those, and he does remain on loan till the end of the season, so that was good. Obviously, Munro been signed as a left back, so more of a one for the future. But obviously, should anything happen to Target, he will obviously come in as the an option to play at left back. So two more that were signed since we last spoke. Jeremy Sarmiento was a bit of a transfer saga, as it was on and then it was off again. Then it was back on, then it was off again. And then apparently Birmingham agreed to deal with him. And I think that Borough must have gone, still got to play Birmingham between now and the end of the season. Don't really want him to score against us. Let's just get it done, shall we? So they signed him on a permanent... I think it was agreed as a permanent deal, but due to some sort of breakdown, it was initially done as a loan deal with a permanent option to sign in the summer should certain criteria be met. And then on the deadline itself, they were looking to bring in a striker, weren't able to bring in a striker, so instead signed a goalkeeper.
Yeah, it's kind of similar.
I mean, it's exactly the same.
They both kind of play at the same part of the pitch, but just for different teams.
Yeah, basically. So I think the idea behind this one was that there was talk of Seny Dieng moving on to Feyenoord, that famous, Greek team, as my sense of where teams play seems to be this evening. Apparently that deal was on until the last few hours of the window, and it has been terminated, shit out, not happening. Don't really know what's happened there, but yeah. So Joe Wildsmith was signed on loan from West Brom as a means of filling the slot that, in theory, Seny Dieng would have left to be the third choice keeper, or at least a backup keeper. So that's the ins. Outs. Permanently on and out was Lucas Engel. He'd been on loan at FC Cincinnati. He came back, didn't play, trained with the first team, and then was sold back to Real Salt Lake in the US. So never really happened for him. He's gone. Hopefully, he can get some games and kick on with his career. The Sarmiento saga kind of had a bit of a knock-on effect because Delano Bergzorg had agreed a deal to join Bristol City, and then when the Sarmiento deal was put on the back burner, that was swiftly ended, and Bergzorg returned to the fold at Borough, scored against West Brom, and then when the Sarmiento deal was pushed through again, they revived that interest, and he's since joined the Bristol City on loan until the end of the season. Another guy who's left on loan is midfielder Abdoulaye Kante. Never really given a chance just due to the form of Hackney, Morris, Alan Brown in the middle of the park. The re-emergence of Alex Gilbert in that position. So he's joined San Etienne on loan to the end of the season. That one does have an option to purchase. I think Bergzorg does as well. So whether or not we see those guys in a Borough shirt again, we'll have to wait and see. A couple of the youth team have gone out on loans. We won't go through those as they won't really affect the first team that much. And the last one was a termination of a loan deal that had been agreed earlier in the season. So Sverre Nipan, the Norwegian wonderkid that had joined from Man City on loan at the start of the season, big things were expected of him. Never really worked out for him. I don't know if he was being played out of position or just not fancied by the new manager when he came in. But never really happened. Must have been a Swedish-Norwegian butting of heads, so to speak. He's since returned to Man City, so I imagine we'll just go straight into the youth team there. Probably play a few games for the under-21s, under-23s, and continue his career. So that's the transfers done and dusted. So that just leaves us to get on to Week 24's games. And the first of Week 24 games is a Friday night fixture. But it's not in the Championship, ladies and gentlemen. It's a Friday night Premier League fixture and sees Leeds United, boo, taking on Nottingham Forest. Yay. Obviously, Mr. Moat is not here and sadly has not submitted any predictions. So he can't go last as he doesn't have any predictions. So I'll go first. I've gone for a 2-2 draw on this one. I've gone for a goal apiece for Calvert-Lewin, Aronson, Hudson-Odoi, and Igor Jesus. Stu?
I've also gone for a draw, but not quite as high scoring as yourself. So I've gone for a 1-1. I've got Jesus to score for Forest and Leeds to absolutely stack it.
It took me a while there. Is it stack or is it stash?
I mean, whichever, but you knew which one I meant.
Yeah. Good point. Good point, well made. Our second game takes us to Saturday afternoon and sees Hull City taking on Bristol City. Is it a 3:00-er?
I hope so. That's what I've accounted for.
I of course it is a home game, so therefore I can only presume that you will be in attendance.
Well, actually, this is a weird one. I don't know if something's gone on with the fixture list, but have you noticed that across Sky Sports and all of the other things, everything's listed at 3:01?
So I don't think it'll be listed anywhere, but I did see this earlier in the season. It's something to do with the is it Reviver campaign? So it's this thing that's obviously the thing all the stuff that happened with Tom Lockyer in the final, and then subsequently the game in the Premier League. I think it's been designated as their sort of take a minute, or it only takes a minute to save a life, or whatever. I need to look into it more, Rhys. I'm more up to date with it, but it's everything's been pushed back to start at 3:01 for that reason. So I think it's linked to Reviver, but but have a look into it. It all will become clear, but it's for that purpose. So I don't know if there's money that's going to charity. I'd certainly hope so. If the league's put this much emphasis on that, they're sort of moving all the games back by a minute to be so like specific about it. So I would hope that some money would be going to the charities to, make it worthwhile.
In fact, we normally kick off a minute late anyway, so it won't really make a difference to us. But
so obviously it's Mr. Woodmansey's team. He will give his prediction last. I've gone for a 2-1 home win here. I've gone for Gelhardt and Kumas to score for Hull, and he's only just joined them. So, of course, Bergzog to score for Bristol City. What have you gone for, and did your opinion change somewhat having seen the performance last night?
I am much more hopeful that we'll actually have some sort of a go. We sat way too deep in that game last night, so I think the manager will give him a bit of a rollicking, because he tends, if we've had a bad performance and scraped by, we do tend to play better the next game. And we kind of owe Bristol one because of what happened in the away fixture when we went 1-0 up and then lost like 4-2. Bristol are a bit out of sorts at the moment. Got absolutely tonked by Derby. I don't know what there is. I don't think they played last night, did they? But I've gone for a whole win. Optimistically gone for a whole win, and I've gone for a 3-1 because, of course, we can't not concede. So
didn't concede last night.
Yeah, but we didn't score either. I've gone for Reese to score for Bristol because
he's not playing against the Borough. That's all he does. He only scores against one team.
And for us, I've got McBurney, Gelhardt, and Hirakawa because I feel like he's due a goal. That kid, he tries his hardest. He's very fun to watch, and he's very, very, very fast.
Lovely stuff. Our third game takes us to Monday night football, and it is the first of two consecutive Monday night games for my lot, Middlesbrough, and these are two away fixtures. And I don't think it will be too much of a putting a fine point on it to say that these are two fixtures that could really set up the remainder of the season. Really, two very important fixtures. The first one is this week's fixture and sees Sheffield United versus Middlesbrough. Obviously, it's a return of an old boss against his former club. So it's Chris Wilder going up against the team that he managed previously. It's my team. I will give the prediction last. It is a Monday night fixture, which means it's live on the Sky Sports telebox. What do you think the score will be, Stuart?
I've gone 1-1. I might have thought otherwise had it been at the Riverdance, but I've gone 1-1. Because I said I wouldn't predict him until he started scoring again, and he has scored since. So I've gone for Conway. And in fact, he scored a couple of times since. And mainly because I can't stand him. He's a massive pain in the backside to play against. I've gone for Gustavo Hamer. He's just a nuisance, and not in a good way.
Yeah. Well, when he was playing for Cov, he's obviously the guy who scored the goal in the playoff semi-final that took them to Wembley and sent 35,000 Middlesbrough fans home very unhappy on a midweek night. One of them being me. So, yeah, he's got previous. I've gone for a 1-1 draw with Conway to score for Middlesbrough. But I've gone for Bamford to score for Sheffield United because he didn't play last night. I don't even think he was in the squad last night from what I could see, which very much screamed to me that him and Wilder have said to each other, "Listen, I can't do 2 games in the space of 7 days. Can you get through this one without me? And I'll come back in for, the one that matters next week." I'm just going to quickly double check to see if he did play in the game against Millwall or if he was in the squad. Okay, he wasn't in the squad for the game against Millwall either. So, distinct possibility that he might be injured, old Patrick.
Well, it's just Patrick Bamford doing Patrick Bamford things, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I also wouldn't be surprised if this is just a ploy to make me think he's not playing, and then he comes on as a sub and
That was the
ruins my
part you
day
missed
yet
out
again.
very specifically. Well, there's this guy who does this podcast, and we're just going to leave you out the squad just to irritate him.
Won't put it past him. They're both shit houses together. So, and our 4th and final game of the week sees Nottingham Forest taking on Wolverhampton Wanderers. This is important from a Forest perspective, I would say, as they really do need to win this one to keep a little bit of distance between themselves and the bottom 3. Obviously, it's also an ex-Middlesbrough manager that's in the dugout for Wolves, so it would be nice to see Forest get a win. No agenda here, though. What have you got down for Forest versus Wolves?
Well, first and foremost, I'm sure Matthew will be very, very much looking forward to this game because we both know how much his affinity stretches for that club from the West Midlands. I have gone for a Forest 2-1 win.
Mm-hmm.
I think if anybody tells you this is going to be a good advert for football, I think you should probably have a word with that person and maybe get them checked. I think it'll be fairly scrappy. I've gone for Anderson, and to back up the scrappiness, Yates for Forest. And
wow,
purely because of the transfer saga that never was, I've gone for Strand Larsen.
Don.
Oh, he went to Palace, didn't he?
He plays for Palace now.
Ah, god damn it. Right, I'll have to come back to you.
If it helps, they did sign. Do you know that kid who played in midfield for England a couple of times when Lee Carsley was running the first team? Angel Gomez. They signed him, which increases the amount of players in their squad with the surname of Gomez to 4.
So what you're saying is pick Gomez and should be Reek.
Correct. Pick Gomez, and if you can throw me a first name at the end of the day, it's fine.
Bear with me, caller. Are they on Saturday night?
This is a Wednesday fixed. It's a midweeker.
Oh, there we go.
Yes, it's definitely a midweek game. I know that much.
It is. It's Wednesday. I was getting confused because with you guys being the Monday. Okay. Let's go with.
They did sign Adam Armstrong from Southampton.
Yeah, well, that guy can go fuck himself as well. Let's go for Tolu or Rockaday or Rockaday.
You absolute bellend.
He played the full game against Bournemouth.
Oh, lovely. Brilliant.
He didn't score, but neither did anybody in that side. So, you know.
Yeah, I think strangely, he might be the kid who scored against Arsenal when they thought they were getting a draw. And then obviously Arsenal popped up in the last minute and won.
Mm-hmm.
So, lol bants. I've not gone as optimistic for you as you have from a Wolves perspective because I've gone for a 2-0 Forest win. And I've gone for a Wonyi to score. 2 games in the space of like 4 or 5 days. I think he might switch up the squad a bit, give Big T the start potentially. And I've gone for Hutchinson. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. 4 games predicted. Come back next week to see how many points we can get on the board for those games. Do you have anything else to bring to the table, good sir?
No, I don't think anything. Don't think there's anything massive. Obviously, strap in for a lot of Hull home games. We have 5 home games in the shortest month of the year.
Interesting. Can't say the same for Borough. 2 away games, absolutely massive. The second of which is against Coventry, so we all know what results will be coming in there for the predictions. Right, so that's it. Done, dusted for another week. Thank you, as always, to that gentleman sat there for joining me to go through the details of his team and my team and Mr. Mo's team. Thank you to you, the listeners, the viewers, for joining us and tuning in. Join us again next week where we will go through those results and we'll have some more predictions for you. And in the meantime, dive into the archives. There's plenty in there for you to be tapping your little teeth into. Plenty. Yes, so that's it for us for this week. Join us again next week. And until then, it's tatty bye and see you later on.
So there you go. Went into that. Another one done. Another one gone. More games gone. More games to come. Fantastic. Big thank you for watching. Big thank you for listening. Big thank you for being here. Before you leave us, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. Check out the website, thecookiecast.com. There we have social media links and an email button, and that way you can get in touch with us. That is it for this one. Until next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.
Thank you for listening to these grumpy old men talk about football. If you've enjoyed this episode, please like, share and subscribe.